We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco.
Delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region, I'm Mariel Soriano.
On today's headlines, the death toll in the Philippines from Typhoon Mangkhut has climbed to 81 and could hit triple digits as searchers dig through a landslide where dozens are presumed dead.
The European Commission is bringing more than 125 million in emergency aid for the victims of Typhoon Ompong.
Marzuki Daruzman, head of the UN fact-finding mission on Myanmar, says that crimes against humanity were committed in Myanmar against the Rohingya. The death toll in the Philippines from Typhoon Mangkhut has climbed to 81 and could hit triple digits as searchers dig through a landslide where dozens are presumed dead. Mangkhut swamped farm fields in the nation's agricultural north and smashed houses when it tore through at the weekend with violent winds and heavy rains. Since then, the toll has climbed mostly due to the corpses recovered from the massive landslide in the mining town of Itogon, where dozens are still believed buried under the mud. Civil Defense Chief Ricardo Halad said it's possible the toll could top 100. The typhoon, the most powerful to strike this year, also battered Hong Kong and killed 4 in China's southern province of Guangdong. Searchers at Itogon continued their grim work, digging with shovels and their bare hands in the vast expanse of mud that crushed dwellings used by small-scale miners. Of the hundreds digging through the debris, many were miners themselves who were looking for friends and relatives, determined to make sure they received a proper burial. The Philippines' deadliest storm on record is Super Typhoon Haiyan, which left more than 7,350 people dead or missing across the central Philippines in November of 2013.
No Filipinos were hurt during the onslaught of Typhoon Mangkhut in Guangdong province in China. This according to the Department of Foreign Affairs. According to the DFA, based on the Philippine Consulate General's coordination with authorities and Filipino community leaders in the area, there were also no Filipino nationals seriously affected by the typhoon. Consul General Marshal Luis Alferez said the Guangdong province or government implemented a 3-stops notice, enabling the relocation of around 2.5 million people in the calling to ports of more than 48,000 fishing boats. Alferez said the Consulate General was closed for operations on Monday.
The Philippine government ordered the release of some 4.6 million bags of rice from the warehouses of the National Food Authority to retailers in public markets as well as in grocery stores as part of its immediate measures to address food supply issues. This was revealed by the government's economic managers, who assured the public that there would be adequate food supply in the country as vegetables and other food products, including fish and fruits, would be airlifted to areas severely affected by Typhoon Ompong. Economic authorities have put in place 9 measures seen to address supply issues. These measures include the release of some 4.6 million bags of rice from the warehouses of the NFA to retailers and the establishment of an interagency surveillance and monitoring team that will ensure that rice from the ports are directly delivered to the NFA warehouses and retailers without delay or fraud. Other measures include the reduction of gap between farm gate prices and retail prices of chicken, the opening by the Sugar Regulatory Administration of sugar importation to direct users to moderate costs for consumers, and for the Bureau of Customs to prioritize the release of essential food items at the ports.
The European Commission is bringing more than 125 million pesos in emergency aid for the victims of Typhoon Ompong. In mobilizing the 125 million pesos and 6 centavos worth of aid, Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Management, Christos Stylianides, said the contribution will help provide crucial support to those most in need and will help the victims face the challenges during this time of need. The EC also said the amount can be used to provide the basic needs to the most vulnerable among those who have lost their homes due to the powerful winds, intense flooding, and subsequent landslides in the aftermath of the storm. A European Commission humanitarian expert has been deployed to the disaster area to assess the needs on the ground. Copernicus, the European Commission's emergency satellite mapping service, has also produced maps of the most affected areas. On Saturday, Typhoon Ompong made landfall on the country, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. Some of the species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Marzuki Darusman, head of the UN fact-finding mission on Myanmar, says that crimes against humanity were committed in the Myanmar against the Rohingya. A UN probe is calling for 6 members of Myanmar's military, including its commander-in-chief, to be investigated for genocide against the Rohingya. A violent army crackdown last year forced more than 700,000 of the Muslim minority over the border into Bangladesh. Watch this.
The reality is that there is no law and no institution in Myanmar that is above the Tatmadaw. Its supremacy is guaranteed in the Constitution. As such, it enjoys complete impunity for its actions. This must change. Our analysis leads us to conclude on reasonable grounds that in Kachin, Rakhine and Shan states, the underlying acts of crimes against humanity have been committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack directed at civilian populations. Ethnic Rakhine also suffered grave human rights violations. They may cross the threshold of crimes against humanity, but this requires further investigation. With respect to war crimes, we consider that non-international armed conflicts existed in Kachin and Shan states for the entire period under review and in Rakhine State since August 2017. Such as in Kachin and Shan states, much of the conduct that amounts to crimes against humanity on the part of the Tatmadaw and other security forces will also satisfy the criteria of war crimes. Let us be clear here, any hope that Myanmar's national justice system will provide justice and truth for human rights violations committed by the military would be unfounded.
The International Criminal Court's prosecutor opened a preliminary probe on Tuesday into Myanmar's crimes against Rohingya Muslims, including killings, sexual violence, and forced deportations. The move is the first step towards a full investigation of Myanmar's military crackdown, which has seen some 700,000 of the stateless minority people flee the northern Rakhine state into neighboring Bangladesh. It comes nearly 2 weeks after judges ruled that even though Myanmar has not signed up to the Hague-based ICC, the court still has jurisdiction over crimes against the Rohingya because Bangladesh is a member. ICC prosecutor Fado Bensouda said she has decided to proceed to the next phase of the process and to carry out a full-fledged preliminary examination of the situation at hand. A preliminary examination can lead to a formal investigation by the ICC, which was set up in 2002 to investigate war crimes and crimes against humanity, and then possible indictments.
I have decided to proceed to the next phase of the process, which is a full-fledged preliminary examination of the situation at hand. The preliminary examination may take into account a number of alleged coercive acts having resulted in the forced displacement of the Rohingya people. This includes deprivation of fundamental rights, killing, sexual violence, enforced disappearance, destruction, and looting.
Russia's defense ministry warns Israel that Moscow could respond to the downing of a Russian plane over Syria as it laid full blame on Israel's air force. Russia released fresh information to back its claim that missile that downed a Malaysia Airlines flight over war-torn Ukraine in 2014 was fired by Kiev's forces. Russia has denied any responsibility for the shooting down of the plane and has presented a number of theories pointing the finger at Kiev. Here's Igor Konachenkov, spokesman of the Russian army.
Расцениваем данные провокационные действия Израиля как враждебные. В результате безответственных действий израильских военных погибло 15 российских военнослужащих. Это абсолютно не отвечает духу российско-израильского партнерства. Мы оставляем за собой право на адекватные ответные действия. Бомбометание выполнялось недалеко от места нахождения французского фрегата «Оверн» и в непосредственной близости от заходившего на посадку самолета Ил-20 ВКС России. Прикрываясь российским самолетом, израильские летчики подставили его под огонь средств ПВО Сирии. Израильские средства управления авиацией и летчики F-16 не могли не видеть российский самолет, так как он заходил на посадку с высоты 5 километров. Тем не менее, они преднамеренно пошли на эту провокацию.
15 men, most believed to be foreign workers, have died in Malaysia and 33 more are in hospital with suspected poisoning after consuming alcoholic drinks. According to local police chief Mazlan Mansour, the victims drank 2 types of whiskey and 1 type of beer at several locations in Selangor State next to the capital Kuala Lumpur. An official news agency, Bernama, reported the first victim was a factory worker who died on Monday evening, while the latest passed away on Tuesday afternoon. As per Mazlan, the first 7 to die were 1 Malaysian, 4 Nepali, 1 Indian, and 1 Bangladeshi. He did not disclose the identities of all the other victims, but he added most were believed to be foreign workers. In a statement, the police chief said the official cause of death is yet to be confirmed. However, initial investigations found all of them were admitted to hospital after consuming alcohol. Relatively affluent Malaysia is home to an army of migrant workers from other Asian countries who typically toil in low-paying jobs, in factories, on building sites, and on plantations.
Billionaire ex-premier Thaksin Shinawatra on Tuesday hit out at Thailand's ruling junta, saying coups targeting his family have made the country worse off over the past 12 years. The Shinawatra clan, a wealthy and powerful family, has won every election since 2001 through populist platforms and welfare schemes that have angered Bangkok's military-aligned elite. Thailand's modern history has been marked by attempted and successful coups. However, the era since the putsch that toppled Thaksin in 2006 has been dubbed the, quote, lost decade, with street protest and instability a feature of political life. Another group coup in 2014 toppled a civilian government headed by Thaksin's younger sister, Yingluck, who fled the country. Military leaders have argued that taking control has been necessary to restore stability. However, in a Facebook post at times emotional and accusatory, the exiled former leader looked back over the turbulent period and asked Thais whether they were really better off in education, healthcare, and the economy. He accused a small fraction of benefiting from the power shifts. The 69-year-old said on the eve of the anniversary of his ousting, there are some people who got rich from these 2 coups, but there are several areas which have gotten worse, and their beloved Thailand has been viewed unfavorably by people around the world. More than 2.6 million people follow Thaksin's official Facebook page, and that post quickly went viral, racking up thousands of likes, shares, and supportive comments. Both Thaksin and Yingluck live in self-exile to avoid court cases they say are politically motivated.
My name is Samantha Suarez, and I'm reporting here from Gainesville, Florida. Behind me is the Florida Museum of Natural History, home to a butterfly rainforest featuring hundreds of butterflies from across the world. Do you know another place that has sites from across the world? Well, check out Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. And I am Juan with 25.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave some love by giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe here at ABC Digital Nest so you don't miss any of our upcoming features.
Welcome back. Turning on a light at the flick of a switch is something many people take for granted. But for 1/5 of the world's population, it's simply not an option, relegating them to a life of energy poverty. One man in the Philippines is making his dream of spreading light a reality, not only in his country, but to the world's poorest.
The Payatas sanitary landfill outside the Philippines' capital Manila is one of the largest on the planet. It's home to gangs of scavengers looking for things to use or sell. But Iak Diaz and his team are hunting for something very specific.
This one thing that you would drink for 5 minutes and last 1,000 years.
They're hunting for 1-liter plastic bottles. And they're not hard to find.
And we were thinking, what could we do with this big problem and how could we make it into the world's biggest solution?
A solution Iak dreamed that would not only ease his country's environmental problems, but also bring a ray of hope to the millions of slum dwellers who live largely in the dark.
It took us a while in the development community to realize that all these goals we have established, getting kids to school, and making sure people have access to basic health services, it's difficult to make sustained progress towards any of those objectives if a community has no access to energy.
But he didn't know exactly how to do it, so he took his idea to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US, where he was studying for his master's degree. He worked tirelessly with other students to perfect his idea. After months of work, he returned to the Philippines and started the Liter of Light movement by turning trash, the empty bottles, into electricity-free solar light bulbs. The solar light bulb produces the same amount of illumination as a 55-watt electric bulb by simply taking the sunlight and refracting the energy. Using non-biodegradable plastic bottles, water with bleach and sunlight, this is likely the least expensive lighting device ever invented.
Renewable energy expert Karan Sagal talks about what IFAD is doing to promote renewable energy for smallholder farmers in Cambodia.
Here in Cambodia, we're going to be having, for the first time, an entire project that is going to look at the potential of renewable energy for smallholder agriculture. In general, at the household level, the main source of energy is firewood and charcoal. And at the farm level, diesel fuel, which is expensive and volatile to changing fossil fuel prices. Technologies like biogas, which integrated in farming systems can have huge benefits in terms of providing a clean source of cooking fuel, and also the byproduct of biogas digesters, bioslurry, which is a high nutrient organic fertilizer. Methane has damaging effects to the atmosphere, so by capturing that and using it as a combustible fuel, you're reducing the pressure on the climate. The project is not only about distributing these technologies, it's about creating the capacity at the local level, at the field level, be able to manage these technologies and operate them.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. I'm Mariel Soriano.
Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco. And
we are one with 25.